Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
That's that homer.
Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Just coming on the air right now, Pearl, you just made a huge statement.
Yeah, I think Stephen Quan gonna do it.
He's gonna hit 400.
He's gonna hit for 400 this year.
Earl the Pearl going in on Stephen Quan. Man, what a weekend.
Yeah.
3 hits, keep getting
I mean, he gets 3 hits every night.
Like,
that can't continue, though. It won't.
Some people get 3 hits in a whole series.
Some people don't even get that.
Jose had 0 hits this weekend.
I know he did.
He got a good hit. He had his 3rd child. Shout out to Jose.
Yeah, no, you got to give it up to him.
Yeah, he did.
That's his best hit you can get.
It is, man.
Boy, they could have used him yesterday, even as a pinch hitter in the 9th inning when they started crawling back. Wow, bold take from Earl the Pearl to start the week. Stephen Quan will hit 400. We debated it Friday, and Tyvis is like, well, why not? And I said, because you can go in a series, you can get 5 hits, and your average is your average goes down.
You go 2 for 5. That's a pretty good game. 2
You
for
got to
5
go 2
in a
for
home.
5 every day.
That's crazy.
Every day.
I don't see why not.
Because it's hard.
I don't see
it's
why
hard.
not.
He's in a groove right now. He's hitting right now. Since he's come back from the injury list, he's hitting over 500, I think.
I think he left at 353 and then came. He's raised
398 now.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's insane.
It was 370 when he got hurt.
His at-bats are still very low, so it's easy to move your average either way, up or down. You get a lot of hits, you take a collar. One day, you take a collar, and your average goes down 8 points.
I think
10 points.
I think who's leading right now is batting like 320 something.
Yeah, it's not even close.
70 points.
It's not even close. We'll see. It's going to be fun. Guardians, rough weekend. It's a rare series where they lost.
That jersey is fire.
I'm telling you, man.
Fire.
It's the City Connect jersey. It's my favorite Cleveland sports jersey of all time. And that's saying something. I mean, I'm talking Browns, Cavs, anything.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I just like the color scheme. I like everything about it. I like it.
You know what's crazy, Jay? My favorite part of the City Connect uniform, and I like the uniform, is not in that jersey. It's the logo, which isn't actually on the jersey whatsoever, which makes the entire ensemble of the uniform just...
Hold on, I got a call. Hold on.
It's hot, man.
Hey, Rosie, you messed up. Jay got the jersey first. Yeah.
Rose Bush got to get on it.
I'm disappointed right now. It looks crazy. I'll take 2 pair of Jordans to make up for that blunder.
I'll take 2 pair of J's.
2 pairs.
You got collateral.
Like you do.
I'm going to need 2 Jordans now. And the jersey.
And the jersey. The jersey is non-negotiable. That got to man, this dice.
That's
man.
funny. Mike, do you have a good weekend?
Yeah, I drove down to Tennessee.
Oh, did you?
The weekend at the lake. Very good time.
Lake Cumberland?
No, South Holston Lake.
Okay, what city is that?
Bristol.
Oh, okay, that corner.
Right.
You
right
used
in
to live there.
Yeah, right where I went.
No, I
Friends
know
down
very
there.
well.
Yep.
Bristol,
Hey.
Johnson City, Kingsport, the Triangle.
Tri-Cities, yep, exactly.
All right.
Drove down, had a good weekend, spent all weekend on a boat, and now we're back.
Can't get any better.
No,
it's
you're
a
not
great
getting
weekend,
you're not getting that off, McNuggets. You're not getting off. Listen, back in the day when in sales they used to teach you your elevator speech.
What's that?
The elevator speech is, how do you explain yourself and how do you talk about yourself in a nice way and explain what you do
In an elevator.
in an elevator in about 15 seconds. Right?
Wow, yeah.
So McNuggets came, that was his introductory speech to let him know what he's about. You said, how was your weekend? He could have said a bunch of different things, but McNuggets says, just drove down to the lake. Just nondescript lake.
Right, yeah.
So now all the...
spend some time at the lake.
So then it's like, okay, well, does he have a boat? Did he drive down there? He might be he might be a guy that stays on the lake. Matter of fact, does he have land down there? See, I like that little catchphrase, McNuggets. You ain't
Tricky.
slick.
Good time. Good time.
Good. Did you go down there with college friends or your old work friends from that market?
Just friends I knew from down there. They didn't work at the TV station, but
Okay.
friends I have met down there and still stay in touch with, and they're
funny.
doing good. So
Yeah, I worked in Hazard, Kentucky, which is about 2 hours from Johnson City.
2 hours west.
Yeah, west northwest. I worked there from 1987 to 1990. I still have half a dozen to a dozen regular friends from there. One really good lifelong friend, two really good lifelong friends from my first job.
It's crazy how
Carried
it
it
works
with
like
me.
that.
Yeah, they're
crazy
good,
how it works.
good people in that corner of the world. Really good, hardworking, good salt of the earth people. All right, so good weekend, battery recharged, you're ready to go.
Let's rock. Y'all ready to
Let's
dive
rock,
into
man.
things?
Let's do it.
All right,
Let's do
as
it.
always, we start the show with a quick word from FanDuel, who is the official sportsbook of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet it all with FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the ballpark tonight. Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And as always, if you have a winning ticket, make sure you guys send those in so we can feature it on the show. Jay, you alluded to it earlier, but a rough weekend for the Guardians and mainly a rough weekend for the starting pitchers. Ben Lively, Cookie Carrasco, neither had their typical starts compared to what they've been doing for the majority of the season. And we've spoken about this time and time again, but it kind of came to a head this weekend. Can you trust the starting rotation for the Guardians right now, or do you go into each game on pins and needles?
No, I wouldn't say pins and needles. I feel pretty confident that they're going to win more games than they lose the rest of the way. And if they do, they finish with 95 wins, and that gets them a division crown. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty. The beauty of running up a 20-game over 500 before you even get to July 4th is that you can now, not that they're going to do this, but if they just cruise control and win half their games, play 500 baseball, they're going to win 95 games. So that's a huge luxury. They are going to hit a skid. They're going to hit a patch where they lose 7 of 10. It's coming. It hasn't yet, but it's coming. You got to play through that, and you've got to find a way to minimize that streak. But I feel so confident in this team right now. It's almost crazy because they're getting it from all parts of the lineup. Newcomers come in and start racking the ball all over the place. Almost came back from that 7-2 deficit. Cookie Carrasco scares me. We've got to do something there, but I'm comfortable with where this team is.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a little shaky.
Are you?
Scared. I'm a little scared.
What about the pitching? Or
Yeah, Carrasco. Listen. Every time he's out there, it looks like he's giving up 4 or 5 runs.
He is.
Lively has been pitching great, but we talked about it before. Is he going to continue to pitch like that? And can you count on somebody that especially a guy that came out of nowhere?
He had a bump in the road Saturday.
He hit a little bump right
and
there.
what scares me is it was after he went home to get looked at, to get his arm looked at.
McKenzie is not throwing the ball hard. He's been getting hit. And the thing that scares me a little bit about the Guardians is I love the fact I used to never be concerned about pitching. The concern used to be hitting and how many runs they can get. But before the show, we talked about the Sheenahan cat. What is his name? Schneemann. This dude, he's going opposite field home run with power. He out here playing confident. I think he's knocking the ball all over the place. But the problem I got is this. I already naturally assume, and I said this about a month ago, I know the Guardians got enough to win the Central. I know the Guardians is going to be one of the top 3 teams in the AL and the American League. My problem is this. When we get to the playoffs, can I count on this pitching staff?
It'll look different by then.
Getting to a point where now you got to face the Yankees, face the Orioles, and these guys are capable of hitting 2-3 home runs, 2-run home runs, 3-run home runs, and putting you in a position where now your bats have to be super elite, so you got to get 2-3 home runs, right? But for me, I think They need some arms, and I think this series showed you, and it showed the Guardians that hey, we got a nice squad, but we do have a little tweaking to do in this roster before the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, I
I agree with that,
I
by
think
the
the
way.
situation with Carlos Carrasco, great story, and I think we're all, feel good about seeing this comeback story. But yeah, I've seen enough of this experiment. Like you said, every single time he's out there pitching, he's giving up 4 or 5 runs a game. I chalk it up Ben Lively. That was just a bad start. I think he's shown me enough this year that I believe he'll bounce back from that bad start that he had the other day.
I'm worried about the arm pain, though.
I think he can get through it. I think so.
Well, it must have been nothing
That's the
structural
first start
because-
since then, right?
Yeah.
So-
they shut him down. They brought him home. They did some tests.
We'll see what the start after that looks like. But I mean, hopefully Gavin Williams comes back ready to go, and
That's
his
the
front
key.
office goes out here shopping to get us another arm for the rotation. But I think for me, if Tanner Bivey can just learn how to pitch deeper into games, you got your ace. This dude he strikes out damn near everybody he sees. He get into these small jams and small situations. Once he learned how to work out of those and pitch deeper into games, I think he can be an ace. Logan Allen, to me, for the most part, has pitched pretty good. He's had a few bad outings.
He's had some bumps, yeah.
I think overall, they just kind of hit a rough patch. And I think they'll be able to, it's growing pains. I think they can get through that.
Let me ask you from a pitcher standpoint with Lively, a guy who is not been in a spotlight, not counted on to be like a guy that, if we need a win, you can go out here and get a win, or he's a stopper. If you're a guy that is used to being a fringe pitcher, a guy that's, not really a top-notch guy, could it be a thing where you kind of overthrow, you kind of put a little pressure on yourself to kind of perform, and he hasn't been used to something like this in this position?
It's possible. I look at David Fry, and I expect a huge regression from David Fry, too. The pressure that you talk about is real. Lively's feeling it. David Fry is feeling it. These guys are not who we thought they were to this point. Mm-hmm. But at some point, there's always a regression to the mean. There always is. Fry is playing so far over his skis. I love it. I hope it continues. But I also think that at some point, he's going to turn into David Fry again. And I also think that with Ben Lively, there's enough hay in the barn on these guys that we've seen before in their career to know who they are. When you get off to a hot start and things are rolling, that inertia turns into energy and it turns into confidence. But as soon as you're dinged, you lose that confidence and you're like, it's midnight and I'm turning back into, Cinderella. I'm turning back into, there goes my dress, there goes my slippers. And I don't know when that's going to happen. David Fry is not going to keep these numbers for the rest of his career. Just not. I'd love it if he could. But at some point, you're going to start to see him slip back. I think he already is a little bit. He's slowed down on his production.
His OPS has dipped under 1 for the first
time all year.
They still 983, which is top 10 in Major League Baseball, but it's
but it was
below
1,200.
1. I know it's dipped below 1 for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Stephen Quan's OPS, by the way, above 1 now.
I don't know. With Stephen Quan, every once in a while, pitchers or hitters will tell you that it just looks like a beach ball. When you played even in high school, you got into stretches where when you walked up to the plate, you weren't thinking about getting a hit. You were thinking about where you were going to put it. I'm going to gap it all the way to the left center field fence, and I'm going to leg out a double or a triple.
It's the greatest feeling in the world.
It is, because there's no mystery. You just walk up there, and confidence is like an elephant. It can knock down walls, but on the other hand, it can weigh you down. And so when you start to miss, you immediately think, I've lost it. I talk to players that are in their early to mid-30s, and many of them say the same thing when they come to spring training. Is this the winter I lost it? Because you just lose it. Father Time's undefeated.
Right.
Stephen Quan is in the absolute apex of his career. He's young. He's confident. He's accumulated some incredible awards and accolades already. When I watch him at the plate, I get the sense that he knows he's going to get a hit.
Yeah, he at the point now. I know when somebody locked in, when they start hitting pitches that are traditionally places where those are outs, those are strikes. He hit a ball that was up and away, and he pulled it. And I'm like, he's now hitting balls that are above his chest. And to get your wrist in a position to do that, to pull a ball, is amazing. Then he's going opposite way. He just looked like it's almost like he's slapping the ball where he wants to, like Wade Boggs.
Or going where it's pitched.
Yeah,
if it's outside, instead of trying to do something with it, just flip your bat and knock it into left field.
Tony Gwynn used to do that, and I used to watch Tony Gwynn and be like, how is he getting
his
all
eye
these
hand
hits?
was so good. And Quan actually, Jason has talked about this. In the offseason, Quan actually spent time missing on purpose. Think about that. Swinging the bat and missing the ball on purpose. Because his eye hand is so good, he just goes and gets it wherever it is. And he wanted to experience that feeling of swinging and missing. It's okay. And he did that this offseason. And now it's almost like he's hitting a quadrant of the baseball that he wants to hit. And when you're in that zone does not last forever. You know, even Ted Williams, who was one of the greatest hitters of the 20th century, Ted Williams would say, as quickly as you can fall into that zone, you can fall out of it. And no rhyme or reason. It doesn't always have to happen out after an off day. You know, it can happen after a 4 for 4 or a 5 for 5. You wake up the next day, you go to the ballpark, and you're like, wow, I'm just not seeing it as well.
Yeah.
So for right now, Stephen Quan is, for my money, the best contact hitter in the game. He's just, and I poo-pooed 400 on Friday. Tyvis is like, I think he's going to do it. You think he's going to do it.
Yeah.
I just have been watching baseball my whole life. I know how hard that is. But right now, he's in the conversation. He's 398, and he's going 3 for 4, 4 for 5, 3 for 5. You keep doing that, and you build up a nice little pad and a cushion.
I mean, we in Cleveland, we do the unthinkable. We do the unbelievable.
Can you imagine?
We
if
do
you
things
hit
that's never
400?
been done before. So
400 is the holy grail. It's like
It's tough.
It's one of the most, like, when you grow up and you talking about home runs, like, okay, that's cool, but we talk about a game in which you can hit the ball hard and it go right to somebody.
It happens a lot.
It happen all the time. Like, you have a lot of loud outs, right? Or you could be seeing the ball great. You could be seeing the ball and you're like, man, I just missed my pitch right there.
Yep.
And you foul it off.
Right.
And you're like,
And you know you're not going to see one like it again.
and so that's why 400 is so crazy, because like we talked about, you can go 1 for 3 in a walk and have a couple stolen bases.
Your average goes down.
You batted 333 and you feel like you did something because you hit a home run and you stole a base. You may score a couple runs and then you go back and you're like, well, dang, I just dropped 15% of my batting average. That's how high 400 is.
It's hard. It's very difficult. It's one of the most difficult accomplishments in all of sports, not just baseball, but all of sports. You've got to be locked in for a long stretch of time, and I certainly hope he can make a run for it. It would make for a fun summer if every homestand, you're putting butts in seats if he's chasing history, and now you can turn, you know, a really good attendance season into a great attendance season.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
On that, let's say he is hitting 398 in a month and a half.
Yeah. It gets real on August 1st.
August, whatever. August
That's
1st,
when it
sure.
gets real.
I don't know if we have an answer. The answer may be we have no idea, which is totally fair.
Yeah.
How much pressure do you think Stephen Quan would feel to then reach said plateau of 400 on a night-in, night-out basis?
A lot.
I think that would impact him at the plate going through what would probably be a pretty damn important stretch for the Guardians, who hopefully have wrapped up the division by then, but August 1st would probably be a little too early to have that in the bag.
Yeah, they're not going to have the division wrapped by then. They're only 5 games up right now, and August 1st is just about 6 weeks away. The pressure is immense. Pete Rose spoke of it when he hit for 44 straight games in the National League back in the 80s, I believe. I remember famously Roger Maris, I talked about this on the show on Friday. Roger Maris, when he was chasing 61, when, you know, for years the record was 60 home runs in a season by Babe Ruth. In 1961, when he hit 61 to break the record, he said in July he started, clumps of his hair started falling out, massive clumps. And he said he was chasing this mythical figure, Babe Ruth. And there were Yankees fans that didn't want him to break the record because they wanted Babe Ruth to have the record. So not only was he feeling pressure every night, because he said, I felt like I had to hit a home run every night I went to the ballpark because everybody was coming to see me hit a home run. But he also said he felt a lot of push from Yankees fans that wanted that holy grail to stay in Babe Ruth's clutch. And they didn't want Roger Maris to do it. So he actually beat the pressure and got to 61. But when you're chasing these mythical ghost records, and it's not a record, but it's an achievement, it's an accomplishment, man, I mean, to think it hasn't been done since 1941?
That's crazy.
I will say, it does give you a little, I mean, because when you were younger and you watched all those guys hitting those home runs, I mean, you saw them hitting home runs every single, and hitting home runs is like, hey, I'm trying. Like,
yeah, you're going for home runs.
You're going for home runs. Like hits, like, hey, you just up there trying to see the ball, put the ball in play, and let the chips fall where they may. So, like, I mean, I've seen Barry Bonds and Sosa and McGuire be locked in for a whole year. Like, every single day they was hitting home runs. Now, 400 is a little more difficult because I think, like, it's just multiple hits. You gotta string together multiple hit games to do it. I don't know what type of pressure it would be. Do you guys feel like batting 400 is that big of a deal today?
Anytime you're looking at something in a sport that hasn't been done in 85 years, that's a big, big deal. And especially when we're in an era now where 300 hitters are unicorns.
Right.
They used to be. I remember when I was a kid, you'd look at the American League batting leaders, and George Brett would be at 380. Rod Carew would be at 366. There'd be 8 or 10 guys over 330.
Yeah.
Nobody hits 330 today.
Ever.
Arise is looked at as a throwback player because he was hitting over 330. But Stephen Quan right now is this sort of odd unicorn. Now, he missed a month, so really we almost have to pump the brakes on it because it's not he's hitting 398 on June 17th. It's he's hitting 398 on May 17th.
Yeah.
And we don't usually get excited about things like that until at least the middle of June. And because he missed a month, I think that helped him to get to that point. But still, Friday, I was wholesale dismissing it, and I'm still, if I had to bet my house on it, I would still bet my house he is not going to do it.
No.
But it could make for an interesting summer if he stays this dialed in. Because to miss a month of the season and come back and hit over 500 in the couple of weeks that he's been back, guys, that's nuts.
And that's why I think he's going to do it. I hear the conversation about the pressure, but like G said, like sometimes you could just be locked in like a racehorse with your blinders on. You don't see nothing to the left or to the right. You that locked in, and for him to miss that type of time,
it's hard to stay there for more than a week.
But for him to miss a month of time in baseball, and we know baseball is really about timing and making sure your technique stays on point.
That's true.
And for you to come back and not only pick up where you left off, but increase your batting average since that point, it just says mentally he really is locked in on another level. But that's another, I think that's another attribute, that's another kudos to Stephen Vogt. Because whatever energy he's transferring throughout that clubhouse, it got these dudes playing on another level. You mentioned Fry playing outside of his mind. You got all these different dudes that's doing things that's, quite frankly, unique in their own way or in the history of the league right now. So
if he bat 400, it's almost more impressive than Ted Williams because of the way
it is more
pitcher. Because think
it's
about
more specialized now.
He's not going to see. He may see 3 to 4 different pitchers.
Yeah, to me it would be way more impressive than Ted Williams.
You're not even going to see a pitcher 3 times no more. So now every time if he's going to get them hits, he's going to be doing it against guys that are coming in front of the bullpen and he's seeing 4 or 5 pitches, which is crazy to just continue to put the ball in play and get hits against all those different pitchers, especially the way they use them now in bullpens.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, that's why I said on Friday emphatically no, he's not going to do it. Because, and the other thing too is the advanced scouting today. Like, I watched an interview with Pete Rose a couple of days ago. And Pete Rose, he's as old school throwback as it gets. And he does have a little bit of get off my lawn old man to him. I can appreciate that. I have some of that to me too. But what I liked about what he was saying in this interview was he said, when I played, I didn't have a notebook. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a scouting report. I didn't have anything that told me when this pitcher gets up 0-2, he likes to go low and in. I didn't have any of that. It was all up here. And he was the clip was him saying that it was actually easier for him to hit at the major league level than any other level he played at because he knew the pitchers. He's like, Tom Seaver was in the league the whole time I was. Fergie Jenkins, Bob Gibson, all of these stalwart National League pitchers that were always there. He faced them all the time. And he knew what they were going to do, and they knew what he was going to do. And it was a different game then. Today, when the Guardians fly to Toronto, all of their pitchers get a scouting packet with what the tendency is of every single hitter. Mm-hmm. So to think that you could hit 400 when all of this information is at the pitcher's fingertips. Now, granted, the hitters have information on the pitchers too. But I think inherently the pitcher-to-hitter battle's the advantage is the pitcher.
Easy.
By a lot. I mean, the pitcher is going to succeed 7 out of 10 times.
Right.
The hitter succeeds 3 out of 10 times, and he's going to the Hall of Fame. So to think that he can do this in the specialized game where in the 6th inning they're going to have somebody that comes in and throws a specific way. And when he bats again in the 8th, it's going to be someone else that throws a specific way. And if it goes into the 9th and he gets to bat again, it will be a hard-throwing closer. It's really tough.
If I go back and think about it, and you play 3 sports in high school, I'll say, okay, you look at different feats or things that you could do. Like, they're like, oh, can you dunk a basketball? You'd be like, yeah, I probably still can do that. Can you tackle somebody? Sure, I probably could tackle somebody or win one pass rush before I dislocate my lower body. But the thing that I marvel at the most is hitting a baseball. Like, sometimes I have to go back and just look. Like, my Pee Wee coach sent me a tape, and I marvel at it because I don't know it's that difficult. I don't know if you just today just throwing somebody out there, all the rest of the stuff athletically, you might, I can still do that. But baseball, that's why I be laughing at Tyvus. Stop.
It's hard. It's not easy.
Real quick, Jay, and then we'll move on to our most surprising Guardians of the season. We started with pitching, and then we went to Quan. I want to just wrap this up with pitching real quick.
Right.
Big picture, no overarching serious concerns after what we saw in Toronto from this starting rotation. I know G said he was a little concerned. You said not much, and Earl, you said not much. We just want to put a bow tie on that. Nothing to break out the panic button and start smashing it. Right?
I think that Gavin Williams is in the wings. And I also think that they're going to make a trade. I think they have to make a trade. So if you get 2 more arms in here, you can, I hate to say it, but Carlos Carrasco probably won't be on the roster after they make a move, unless they want to put him to the bullpen and try to, have him be an innings eater in games that kind of get out of hand early. I just don't think he's going to be on the roster. You give me Gavin Williams and another front of the rotation kind of starter, and that's the kind of move I think that they need to make, then I think they're set.
If they still had Bieber, I would pick them to win the World Series.
Oh, my God. Especially the way he was pitching to start the year.
Yeah, I would pick him because I know you got him, Gavin Williams, Allen, Bibee.
Wow.
Boy.
Oh, my God.
Man.
It's 2 years in a row, really, that we got derailed by pitching injuries. Yeah. And I shouldn't say derailed. Last year it derailed our season. This year, they're hanging in there.
Yeah.
And so I think what they have to do is they have to get out and make a trade. And I think they're going to. Friday on the show, Mike Chernoff was here.
He seemed like he was up for it.
Yeah. He didn't do any song and dance. A lot of times they'll tap dance around that question. Well, we'll see where we are in middle of July. He said with certainty, you can bet I'm going to spend every waking moment between now and the trade deadline talking to other teams about deals. And that makes me feel good.
That was a refresh. Shout out to you, your rest of you GMs. You should be looking at that, man. I guess you could do that when you 21 games up.
He gave us something though.
He gave us something on that. He talked about the philosophy at the plate definitely changed.
Yes.
They're hitting the ball. And he said, listen, we're going to wear the heck out of these City Series joints. These might be our new uniforms. He gave us 3 things. The rest of you guys, hey, listen, Kobe Altman, give us one. When is the coach coming? We'll talk about that later in the show. That was a tease.
Yeah, we will talk about that later in the show. So anyhow, I'm not panicking. I'm not reaching for any panic button. I think the Guardians will be fine. I do expect them to hit a skid. It's not going to be a comfortable race. I think the Twins are going to get close. I think the Royals will get close. And we'll probably have to sweat it out through September. But the way things look right now, I would sure as hell rather be 5 games up than 5 games out.
Are they still in a situation? I heard on the radio that the Guardians have not lost. They've won every 2 or 3 games that they've played so far this year.
No, the Yankees beat them in a series.
They've lost a few series.
Yeah, they've lost a couple
They've lost
series.
3 or 4
they've lost series.
The
But
Blue Jays, that White Sox
Chicago.
nasty.
But I've heard for every 3 games played,
Their record is 44-25.
Correct.
If it was 44-22, it would be exactly 667. That means you're winning 2 of 3.
So that's probably what it was about a week ago.
Yeah, well,
And you saying they'll hit a skid maybe where they lose 7 in a row or something like that?
Every team does. I'm not saying 7 in a row. I'm saying 7 out of 10. They'll hit a skid where they just.
I mean, heck, they was 4.
Things start to look difficult.
They was 4-4 on this one. So
Right.
I mean, it's 500.
It happens. But look, if you come home and you're 500 after an 8-game trip, that's great. Because the expectation is you'll come home and be 5-3 or 6-2. That's how you win your division. You play 500 at home, 500 on the road, and you play 600 or 650 at home.
How you like the pitcher matchup tonight?
I didn't look at it. Who is it?
They play tomorrow.
Tomorrow. They're off tonight.
It's McKenzie versus Bryce Miller. And
Yeah.
tomorrow,
I like it.
I'm going to show you guys a video. I actually hit against Bryce Miller when he was at A&M.
Did you really?
Well,
I seen that. I seen that
We'll show you
video.
all the video. It's pretty fun.
I seen that video.
Yeah,
Listen.
he's gotten a lot better since college, but he was a hell of a pitcher in college.
It's not easy. We could talk about this, but I think one of the most difficult things to do in all of sports is hit a baseball.
We can talk about it. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you, so I'm not sure how much of a debate it's going to be.
I just don't see it as a debate.
Hitting a baseball
Because you don't know if it's going to be 99 at your chin or 74
Yeah, I'm not going to
sweeping
give
away.
it all away, Jay. He threw 1 slider. I had 11 pitches to just make contact. He threw me a slider. Tune in tomorrow to see how that went.
Shit, I'm not gonna be
did
here
not
tomorrow.
go good. If you want more talk on Stephen Quan and his quest for 400, the Ultimate Guardian show debuted this morning. Bull and Zach, they talked about Stephen Quan's quest for 400 and myriad of other topics about your Cleveland Guardians. So make sure you check it out on our YouTube page. It is up right now. Jay, I asked you guys all this morning, and we got 3 different answers, so I love that from you guys. Who is the most surprising Guardian of the season? And Earl, I want to start with you. We'll go G, and we'll wrap up with you, Jay. But
Okay.
I open the floor. You could have taken this in a good route, in a good way, good surprise, and you could have went in a bad route, a bad surprise. And Earl, you went with a guy we mentioned earlier. But tell me who your most surprising Guardian this year is.
I mean, to me, it's David Fry for everything we talked about earlier. At 28 years old, he's hit this crazy, insane, out-of-this-world peak that the projection or the potential shouldn't say that he should be batting .314 right now with an OPS of .983. I think he's shown this combination of power, contact, and discipline at the plate this season that I have not seen from David Fry throughout his career. This is a dude last year who, struggled, didn't know if he was going to have a secure roster spot, etc. I don't think anybody came into this 2024 campaign saying that, you know what, David Fry is going to be somebody that we can lean on, to help us get wins. He's versatile. I think before yesterday's day off, he catched the last 7 games in a row. So, the versatility, just the discipline at the plate, the power, the contact, everything he's doing right now, I think it's surprising everybody locally and nationally. So for me, the biggest surprise for the Cleveland Guardians this year, without question, is David Fry.
Yeah, I think it's a slam dunk answer.
Yeah, that's the obvious.
But we all wanted to go in a different area, so we picked other guys.
I had to take the downside. I had to take the downside, man. Bo Naylor, man, where you at, dog?
Yeah.
Bo Naylor, I picked you to get 20-something plus home runs in the beginning of the season. You batting a dime 76 right now, bro. And here's the part that's tough. He looks like he's lost confidence. He's not up there looking like a power hitter. And here's the dilemma. He was supposed to be the dude up, and how the Guardians really work and operate is, when they give you your opportunity, you know what I'm saying, they finally put you in a position where you can take that position and by the horns and stay up here. Now you playing so bad and hitting so bad. I mean, he does a good job behind the plate. But you got dudes like Fry. Fry is playing so well. You got to find a position for him to play now every single day. And the dilemma is, well, now what do you do with Bo Naylor? Are you going to send him back down to the AAA? Are you, like, to me, that's a wasted year. Bo Naylor got to be bouncing between here and AAA. You know, this kind of happened with Oscar Gonzalez a little bit. You know, he showed, the ability to do something, and then all of a sudden the next year he had the worst year of his life, and he's out of the league or somebody else. I'm not saying that that's going to happen to Bo Naylor, but Bo Naylor was supposed to be that guy that really bolstered the bottom of the order and that was supposed to take that next step. It's been disappointing to see, batting like that. And the only thing that's saving the Guardians is that Fry is playing as well as he has, so you don't really notice it as much. Like, you're like, okay, but we got production for catch. But I think Bo Naylor is my choice with that one.
Here's the problem with the Guardians roster right now in their lineup. When you get through the first 7 hitters, you get to exhale. Rocchio and Naylor at the bottom of the order, it fears no one's afraid of that.
No.
You got guys that are hitting, I think Rocchio's sub 200 as well. I know he hit a home run yesterday.
He had 2 home runs in a weekend. Like, where did that come from?
Listen, we need a lot more of that. You can't have 2 guys in your lineup. What's Rocchio hitting? I don't want to ding him too hard. In my mind, he's hitting below 200 or right at 200.
Brian Rocchio this season is hitting 213.
Yeah, see, that's troubling because Freeman has also kind of been wavering.
Yeah, 220, 230.
He's 223.
Okay, so you get through the first 4 or 5 hitters, and teams are now working around those guys, even if they get the bases loaded and leave them loaded. When you get to the bottom of the order, nobody scares you. Yeah. Right. Whether it's Will Brennan is having a decent year. He's probably around 220, but he's hitting for more power.
He's hitting 240.
240, that's okay. We'll take that. But you can have one of those in your lineup. Then you've got Freeman, Rocchio, and Naylor, who are all right generally. Probably if you add them all up, they're right around 200.
Rocchio's 213, Naylor's 176, and what was the other name? Freeman, 223, and Josh Naylor's not in this category. He's hitting 229.
No, Josh Naylor has fallen off an absolute cliff. Josh Naylor was having an MVP kind of season early, and now all of a sudden, Bo's trouble at the plate have rubbed off on Josh.
And if it wasn't for his power, I think he's still 5th in the league in home runs.
And he's up there in RBI too.
But if it wasn't for that, he's fallen off dramatically at the plate.
Here's the good thing.
There's a lot of evidence that's swirling around that there are red flags in this lineup.
Here's the good thing. Every time we come on this show and we have these type of conversations about somebody in that lineup, they typically go out there the next game and they have a good game. So hopefully Bo hears all of this. He goes out there and it turns around.
He's been at 170 for a long time.
A question for you, and I don't know, what his value is like now, but to your point,
not what it was.
Last year, I remember we was calling like crazy for Bo to be, in the major leagues. Here he is, and he's been a disappointment. Would you, seeing the prospects that we have, we do have the number 1 first overall pick in the draft. So we got prospects right now that's like 18, 19 waiting in the wings. Would you include Bo in some type of trade package this year?
See, that's tricky.
If it brought back the right pieces?
Well, that's tricky because Josh and Bo love playing together. Josh is a pro. He would understand that. Probably wouldn't love it, but he would understand it. But at this point, I don't even know what his trade value is. He's the new car model that looked nice and shiny and new and had a good sticker price on it. But then you drove it for 3 months and you're like, this car isn't all that. It's not doesn't have the kind of value that I thought it was going to have because it's not shiny and new anymore, and you know what the performance is on it.
Jay, are you talking to me specifically or something? Are you saying that too? Like, did you use that as an example? Okay, it's all right.
I'm not.
When Garrett had his,
I just don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Bo. I don't know if they want to stay committed to him. You can't keep trotting him out there and have him hit 170. You can't. Because someone said I think it's hurting his confidence.
Yeah.
It is. When you roll out there every day and you get 17 hits out of 100 at-bats, It reinforces I'm not ready for this yet.
And it messes you up a little bit, especially because when you come up and you young and you hitting the ball, you like, oh, this major league stuff is nothing. Yeah, this is light. And then all of a sudden you start hitting the ball, and then you go through a slump, and then you get to a point where you below a slump. Now you start questioning yourself and thinking, was I even ever that good? Did I just hit a couple good
I wonder
pitches?
what his batting average was in AAA before he got called up last year.
I think he had good numbers in AAA. I think he did.
My mom and dad was having a knockdown, drag-out conversation about this.
About what to do with Bo Naylor?
Yeah, like my mom is a huge Bo Naylor fan.
I love Bo Naylor. I love him.
My dad said, Dorothy, you got to sit him down. He got to go. She's like, no. Listen, he'll come through. Stop. We're going to need him at the end of the year. I'm like, I can't believe you Guardians people is arguing on the porch about this.
Bo was hitting .255 with 13 home runs in AAA last year.
Decent. For a catcher, decent numbers.
He hit .237 in 67 games last year.
I'm just starting to think out loud because Frott just caught the last 7 games prior to the off day, right?
Right.
Austin Hedges is a serviceable backup catcher. And we talk about the holes that we have in our lineup. We talk about need to add another arm to the rotation. And I get it. The batting average is down. This year has been a big disappointment. But, Bo Naylor came with a lot of hype and expectations behind him, at least locally he did. So I'm just wondering, if you can include him in a package to kind of get that one arm that's a game changer.
It might take a Bo Naylor and a Gabriel Arias. Arias is another one.
I might have to do it. I got to do what I have to
next
do.
And in the wings for a long time. And he just hasn't panned out to be the guy that we thought he was going to be. And if you want to win a World Series,
we got the opportunity to do it.
You can't have weaknesses like a $170 hitter behind the plate, a 213 hitter at shortstop, and a 220 hitter in center field. You can't. You can't have that. You can have one below average guy, but everybody else has to be having career years. If you want to win a World Series, it takes everybody.
And them boys, when you start talking about the playoffs, they like these is like role players in the NBA. You cannot you count on these, you could almost mark these down for outs.
Can you imagine the Guardians being down a run, bottom of the ninth, and the hitters coming up is Bo Naylor, Rocchio.
It's gonna happen.
What playoff teams bullpens? Nah, them is K's. Sit down.
You've got to make moves, and look, sometimes it's painful to get something. You got to give up something. And the quality of player that we need to get in here, we need a serviceable arm, and we need, I think, a catcher. If they're not going to put Fry at catcher every day, I think that's their easiest answer. Just plug Fry in, let him catch every day, and either put Bo Naylor on the block or put him down in AAA for a minute.
Jay, who's your surprise player? We heard from G, we heard from Earl.
Yeah, mine is Ben Lively. Just because I expected little to nothing from this guy. I really didn't expect anything from him. And I know he's hit a little bit of a skid here where he had the injury and they sent him home to get looked at. They said nothing structural and they put him back out there to pitch. And it was probably one of his most disappointing starts. So I think he's pitching in pain. That's never good. And sometimes tests that can show no structural damage today, in 2 weeks, he could have a torn UCL. You just don't know how these things go. Something is clearly amiss with him because he wasn't the same guy in his last start.
He just did.
So I'm worried about that. I'm worried about Ben Lively. But I obviously you want to say David Fry. That's the only answer to this. But I want in the exercise of trying to give somebody else some love, I put Ben Lively in there. But David Fry, nobody could have expected this from David Fry.
I will throw to Freeman's glove in center field is
good point.
Is kind of way better than I thought it was.
Oh my God, that's a position that takes sometimes years to play
and
to learn how to play.
He's been playing 3 or 4 months, right?
He went out there in spring training and he's absolutely nailing it. Nice 2 catches he had the other night against Cincinnati were unbelievable.
Never played the position.
One more guy that I think could be in the most surprising category. We just spent 20 minutes talking about him last category, but Stephen Quan had never hit 300 in a season, which is hard to believe. He hit 297 as a rookie and then dropped a little bit last year. The fact that he's hitting close to 400, I think we all expected a bounce back, but we're talking literally, and I know it's June 17th and he missed a month, he's batting over 100 points better than he did in his career best season, which none of us saw coming. So a lot of good candidates. And I think you guys picked the 3 Most obvious but best 3 choices, 2 on the good side, 1 on the bad.
Yeah.
Let's move on, guys. Talk a little Browns. A quick reminder, though, if you want to sign up for the UCSS newsletter, text newsletter to the number you see on the bottom of your screen. There was no article this week because it was Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, everyone out there, over the weekend. But we had all the normal stuff we usually have in the newsletter. We have a member shout-out of the week, and our member of the week, if I can find Steve's email, was Poetic Pen. So shout out to Poetic Pen for being our member of the week. And you can sign up by texting that number on the bottom of your screen. All right, guys, let's talk Browns for a sec. Last week, the 33rd team put out a list of the 10 best rosters in football, top to bottom, enter the 2024 season. And the Browns came up on this list. So let's run through 10 through 6 and then 5 through 1 to see where the Browns landed. Then you guys let me know if the 33rd team got this right. So starting at number 10, working our way down. Number 10 was the Rams, 9 the Packers, 8 the Ravens, 7 the Dolphins, 6 the Jets. I told you the Browns would be on this list. They're not in 10 through 6, which means they're in 5 through 1. Steve, let's see the top 5 here. Number 5, the Lions. Number 4, the Chiefs. Your Cleveland Browns come in at number 3, the highest-ranked AFC team on the entire list by the 33rd team. The Eagles at 2, and the 49ers at number 1. Guys, the Browns at 3, according to the 33rd team, in terms of overall roster construction. You buying it, you selling it too high, too low, or just right? G?
Now, I'm not going to get greedy and say it should be 1. Like, y'all probably thought was what I'm going to say, man. Well, finally, somebody actually started doing their homework for once. Finally, y'all stopped using these talking points. Like, I'm surprised they say Deshaun Watson's on the roster, the Browns are 23rd. No. Like, the Browns, and it's easy to go ahead and, like, to decode this, right? Because the Browns had the best defense, right? Last year, right?
Parts of the season.
They had best
I
defense.
didn't see that defense in Houston.
Granted, I'll give you that. But they still got the defense back, and they improved on the defense, and they brought more guys in. They brought Quentin Jefferson in. Myles Garrett was Defensive Player of the Year. They have another year under Jim Schwartz, who was the, obviously the assistant coach of the year. So the defense is solidified. You could argue that their defense wasn't as good as the 49ers. The Eagles got a pretty good defense too. So I can see that. All right, well, cool. Let's continue to go into this offensive side of the football. Listen, I love Deontay Foreman is an upgrade at running back position. David Njoku looks like he's coming around. And by the way, the receiving core is better than it was last year. They added Jerry Jeudy.
Do you love the receiving room?
Love is a very strong word. Love ain't a strong word. And plus, listen, Deshaun Watson, if he plays 17 games, will probably throw for 3,800 to 4,000 yards next year. I wanted 4,500.
I mean, to me,
Well, I want 5,000, but I also want a space shuttle, and I'm not getting that either.
might as well go double nickel if we talking like that. No, to me, I mean, it's what, about a month before training camp, so all these little lists gonna pop up. I think it's respectable. I don't see third being too high or too low. I respect it. From top to bottom, the Browns have a lot of depth at every single position, right? I'll start on the offense since you went defense first, right? Deshaun Watson, you got Jameis Winston, who's arguably probably the best backup in the NFL. When you got Nick Chubb leading your running back.
You think Jameis Winston's the best?
I think he's one of them. I would say he's probably a top 5 backup in the league. And so to me, if Deshaun Watson is a top 15 quarterback and you got a top 5 backup quarterback, that's depth in your quarterback room. And then you got DTR going into year 2, second year was Kevin Stefanski. So the depth at the quarterback position, I like the depth at the running back position. I agree with G. I know Jerry Jeudy hasn't reached his potential of being a first-round draft pick, but it's not like he's not a serviceable wide receiver. I like wide receivers 1 through 3. I think Mike Woods is going to shock a lot of people. I keep saying that. I just think it's going to happen. James Thrash, the rookie, he can show some things. David Njoku leads a strong tight end room. We know the offensive line is solid. We flip on the other side of the ball. The Browns DBs is ridiculous. Andrew Berry can pick a DB in his sleep like it's nothing. Jock Lee's a running back, a linebacker core that's probably the weakest overall unit. But when you got him and Hicks in there in that room, it solidifies that. And then we all know what we got on the defensive line when you got Myles Garrett. But overall, if you think about it, right, they have 2 of the best players in the entire world leading their roster. So by default, they're going to be up there. Those two players being Myles Garrett and, of course, Martin Emerson Jr. So when you have that going on,
I'm like, wait a minute, Chubb is hurt.
So
I was like, where's this
when you got all that going on, of course they right there at third. I get it.
You guys are drinking the Kool-Aid.
Jay got him at 12.
No, I got him top 10. Can I see the second page of the top 10 list again?
As in 10 through 6?
10 through 6.
Steve, 212.
Where's Dallas?
I don't think Dallas was on the top 10.
That's kind of crazy.
They weren't. Let me see the list again.
That's kind of wild.
Rams, Packers, Ravens, Dolphins, Jets is 6 through 10.
Let me see the next 5 through 1.
5 through 1, Detroit, Kansas City, Cleveland, Philly, and San Francisco.
Now, I know that Cincinnati is led by a tremendous quarterback, and they have holes on their roster. Mm-hmm. But you're going to tell, where was Houston?
Not there.
We got no Houston. We got no Cincinnati. We've got no Dallas.
Now hold on. Now I can't hold that against Cleveland. I can hold it against them 6 through 10s.
Hey, Mike, you want to cancel that next segment because this is finna get ugly.
That's 6 through 10.
We're good till Dane Brugler calls in.
But that's 6 through 10 though. Like he's right. Like I like some of those teams better than some of them. The Jets is way too high for me.
How in the hell did Jets get in there?
Nowhere. They should not be in that.
The Jets, outside of quarterback, do have a pretty good roster.
Houston isn't in there?
I didn't say that. I was saying they should be the 6. I'm just saying the Jets.
I know, but I'm just asking Team 33.
I just saw
or 33rd team. Whatever the hell this
Joe Flacco
called.
Joe Flacco and Elijah Moore beat the Jets last year.
Yeah, I don't understand a lot about this list. I think Cleveland's a top 10 roster. I do. But to say they're number 3, according to this, they're going to win the AFC.
That's
I can see that.
Now, when they had them, now what I don't agree with is they're not above Kansas City. I don't think you could.
Why? Because
according to this list, they are.
Why?
I am never.
Why? Because of Patrick Mahomes?
Yes.
Yes. See, listen. If you have, it can't just be check they win at quarterback. It's check they win at quarterback by a mile.
Okay.
It's check they win at tight end by a lot.
That's it. That's it.
And that's what led them to a Super Bowl last year.
And check, they got the coach too.
And check. They got the coach.
For this
roster.
And Chris Jones is pretty doggone good.
Now, in a real vacuum here,
They just lost Ladarius Sneed at corner.
I'm offering you an opportunity right now.
Okay.
You can have the Kansas City Chiefs roster right now, but you got to trade away the Browns roster. So everybody that's in Kansas City that won the Super Bowl, that's won 3 of 4, comes to Cleveland. They're on our team now. You doing it?
It got Patrick Mahomes on the roster. Of course. But I'm saying.
That's it.
Okay, so
that's
listen.
It. It's not like it's just the catcher.
I think what J&G is trying to do here, Mikey, is they trying to say because of the quarterback or the level of quarterback, that by default, the overall roster is better. No. We got a better backup quarterback than Patrick Mahomes, and I get it. Patrick Mahomes is by a while.
I am not waiting to back up quarterback in this argument. I'm just not.
Let's not do it. The cornerback room, our DBs are better than their DBs.
Yes, I'll take our DBs.
Our defensive line is better than their defensive line.
I'll take their linebackers.
I'll take their linebackers.
I'll take our defensive line, but their defensive line is nothing to sneeze at.
No, true. I'll take their linebackers
They're
with
the
you.
Super Bowl champs.
I'll take that. I'll take our wide receivers over theirs.
I'm saying entire roster.
That's what I'm saying.
Right now, you have a chance. I'll put this in front of you. Sign it, and the Kansas City Chiefs are now the Cleveland Browns.
So you're saying the entire roster?
Yes. You sign this, and the Kansas City Chiefs, all 53 players, are traded to Cleveland.
This going to sound like some...
send all 53
This going to be some crazy homerism.
You sign it?
Hell no.
You're keeping the Browns over the Kansas City.
I'm keeping the Browns over the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'll remind you, they've won 3 Super Bowls.
I understand that. I understand that.
Until it happens, I am not picking against Patrick Mahomes.
I'm not either.
They're going to have to take it. They got to beat him.
And you know what? Last year, their offense was middling. We thought, this is it.
I get it. Patrick Mahomes is all
world. And then the playoffs came, and Patrick was like this. Let me get this little switch.
So, if we was to rank the top 10 players and you put all those players in the pool.
No, I'm ranking all 53.
Okay, fine.
I'm not ranking one position.
Patrick Mahomes is 1. I bet you the next 4 or 5 is Cleveland Browns.
Maybe they are.
And then the next 2 or 3 is Kansas City Chiefs.
Plays the position that wins Super Bowls.
I
can't overlook that.
Real quick. Do you want to hear Mahomes' playoff stats? I just looked this up. hit his career, he's played 18 career playoff games. So essentially a full season, right? 18 games, a full season.
Yep.
Against playoff caliber defense.
Against the best teams in the league.
In 18 games, he has 5,135 yards, 41 touchdowns, 8 interceptions for a 106.8 quarterback rating.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
You give me the Chiefs.
That's ridiculous. Again, I hate you trying to bog me down because I love Pat. I love you. I got no problems with Patrick Mahomes. I ain't got no problem with him, Travis Kelce, none of that. But honest to God, like seriously, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Wyatt Teller, Joe Bitonio at their positions, Amari Cooper at his, David Njoku. If Kelce is one, Njoku was in the top 5.
Would you say that most of these rosters have been pretty set over the last 3 years?
Outside of Pat Mahomes,
No, these rosters have been. Now, you can say the Chiefs suffered huge roster attrition.
Yeah, they did.
They lost Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm saying is these rosters have been these rosters for the last 3 years. The proof is in the pudding.
That man went on the road against Buffalo, win. Went on the road again against the Ravens, win. Listen, the dude
After looking average all year. You know what? Last year told me this.
This sounds like some
Last year told
homerism,
me
but
this.
I'm just being honest.
I'm kind of bored with this regular season nonsense. Shake me in December.
Well, hey, let's do so. Comparing the Chiefs and the Browns, if we're doing a draft of the 5 best players on those two teams, Mahomes is first.
Yes.
Miles is second.
Yes.
Who's 3, 4, 5?
Travis Kelce's 3.
Yep.
Has to be.
Yep.
Is Chris Jones
4.
And
Chris Jones is
4. But here's the thing. And I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Like, the question wasn't, if there was a draft, how many Browns would make the top
I'm
5?
just asking to
That's
ask
not
this.
the question. The question is roster construction.
Well, they have these 2, 3, and 4. So I mean, we're splitting hairs whether you want to go Chiefs and or Browns. You're splitting hairs.
We are, and I think that if you want to have the Chiefs 4, okay, that's a bit egregious. I mean, come on. They've won 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, and they're favored to win another one. They are the closest thing we've seen to a dynasty since Brady and Belichick. They are there. Now,
if Pat Mahomes played for the Browns,
then the Browns
wait,
win.
listen.
Then I want the Browns.
If you took Pat Mahomes,
Yes.
right, just take both quarterbacks, put them to the side.
Yeah.
Every other player on this roster is what it is. I think the Browns roster is so damn good, plus Pat Mahomes, the Browns will never lose a game again.
Oh, come on. They'd lose a game.
I'm just saying.
17-0.
They could go 17-0. This current roster with Pat Mahomes can go 17-0.
I think we're gassing it a little bit.
We have
I would take the Browns, though. If you can put Mahomes on the Browns.
You don't think Mahomes on this current Browns roster could go 17-0?
Man, do you know how hard that is to do?
I get it. But think about the roster that went 17-0 in New England.
We talking about.
They had Tom Brady
and Randy Moss.
I mean, they all-time greats at their positions.
I mean,
I think this roster is that good. I think the quality of this roster, the depth of this roster is that good.
I think they're good. I think they're probably 5 or 6 or 7.
To me, if we like with these top 3 teams we talking about, right? Once injuries start playing a part, and both of it, let's say if injury start stripping away key players from key positions, for both of these rosters, I trust the Browns' depth, and because of course I know the Browns' depth a little bit more, but the depth that the Browns got at each position can survive major injury. To me, more than a lot of other teams in the NFL.
Well, they had to last year, and they still made the playoffs.
So that's why I would say that their roster is there.
We were dinged at quarterback, and they made the playoffs. I'm not arguing with you that they have a great roster, and if you could flip Mahomes, then yeah, I'm definitely taking the Browns with Mahomes over the Chiefs with Deshaun Watson. But that's not the case. And if my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bike. Well, that's a big if.
Let's see what Dane talking about.
Yeah, well, let's ask Dane.
We'll ask our guest. We got to bring in Dane Brugler from The Athletic here after a quick word from FanDuel. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the ballpark tonight. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And America's #1 draft analyst comes from The Athletic. It is Dane Brugler, who is kind enough to join us now on this Monday morning. Dane, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us today.
I don't think he's hearing us, bro.
He gave me a thumbs up a second ago. What's up, Dane?
Dane, do you hear us? Hello, Dane. No.
I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah, I don't think he has us.
All right, well, you guys continue this. I'm gonna
while we try to get Dane on there, because I'm anxious to see what he has to say. We're splitting hairs.
We are. I do agree with the linebackers, though. Like Kansas City linebackers is nasty.
No,
I agree with you there.
their linebackers
It's
are
ridiculous.
very, very good.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And look, I think up front, Jones isn't Myles Garrett, but he's damn close.
Right.
He's damn close.
Right.
It's not like that they're getting dinged at that position or at that position group because they have a gaping hole.
Right.
Well, I tell you, the one thing, last year I was not high on Kansas City going into the playoffs. I just thought they were pedestrian offensively. And as soon as the playoffs rolled around, what I've learned from watching Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid through the years is that they both have an extra gear, an extra hiding spot in their box of tricks that they go to when they need it. And in those close games, even on the road, Buffalo, Baltimore, they can dig down and they can find a way. And their defense played lights out when they had to play lights out. They're just a team that understands what it takes to win.
You know what I think it is,
scenario.
Jay? You know, because I think we are splitting hairs, and G, I want your opinion on this too. I think honestly, what we're talking about and what your point is once they get to the playoffs, even if they don't have the equivalent talent of roster to the other team, let's say when they play Baltimore,
yeah.
You can argue last year's Baltimore Ravens roster was better than Kansas City's. Kansas City has playoff experience, Super Bowl winning experience.
And you can't measure that on a 53-man roster.
And so, exactly. And so when they get to the playoffs and things get tight, they've been in these moments. You think about it, right? McCole Hartman, who left Kansas City, started last year on the Jets roster, came back. That's the dude who caught the game-winning touchdown.
Yes.
A dude who had been with Pat Mahomes, understands Andy Reid. And he's no whirlwind wide receiver.
He's not.
But that experience that he possesses playing with that particular quarterback on this particular team in those moments, it showed up big. And so I think when you get to the playoffs and we talk about Kansas City, yeah, they don't have to have the best roster, but they got Super Bowl experience. And that right there seems to what's been carrying this team further and further.
Right.
Because now they show that they can win different ways. When Pat Mahomes is not being all-world, they still can beat you.
They can. Dane, I don't know if you caught any of that argument, but we're talking about the rankings of the rosters where the Browns came in at number 3 and the Chiefs came in at number 4. I just think the Browns are too high. If you give me a piece of paper and it says, here's the 53 Chiefs players, you can have them on the Browns roster. You've got a sign down here, and all 53 Browns players go to Kansas City. I'm doing that deal. Are you?
Yeah, probably. And obviously with the Chiefs, it's weighted a little bit differently because I think they're a little top-heavy with the way that they're constructed. When you have a Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce on defense, you have a Chris Jones up front. I mean, they have some superstars that really propel that roster. And proof's in the pudding. You know, what have they done the last few years with winning Super Bowls? So that is, I think, a little rich. And I think it's fair to be optimistic about this Browns team. I think it's fair to look at the roster and say, hey, this is a team that should be competing for the division, should be competing for wins in the playoffs. But a top 3 roster in the NFL, that's pretty rich.
Yeah, Dane, I'm looking at it. I mean, are they taking into account that they, in this ranking that they're getting 2020 Deshaun Watson? Because if you look at what it looks like, I'm like, I can't take the Browns over Kansas City. I probably couldn't take the Browns over some teams that got left out. Like Dallas's roster is pretty stacked, like, right? So are they taking in consideration that you're going to get a fully healthy Nick Chubb and a Deshaun Watson that's bouncing back?
Yeah, and I think they're giving a lot of respect to a Kansas City coaching staff, where you have an Andy Reid, you have Spags, you've got guys that are proven as getting the most out of what's on the roster. And I think the Browns staff, you could certainly say they're on that road as well with what Schwartz did last year with the defense. Obviously on offense, that you feel pretty good about them moving forward. But yeah, the quarterback is the key. And which Deshaun Watson are we going to see this year? That's the big X factor. That's the variable. And after missing so much time last year down the stretch, it's just a complete unknown at this point. And I can understand optimism, but are you really going to believe that we're going to see that 2019, 2020 version of Deshaun Watson, the version that is a legitimate Pro Bowler, the version that is going to help lift the offense? It's not going to just be part of the offense, but lift the offense. And that's tough to bet on right now. I don't know how you could really have any conviction that we're going to see the throwback Deshaun Watson that earned him the contract that he got from the Browns.
Dang, man, welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I see that purple Raiders helmet in the back. My boy Cecil Shorts was a purple Raider, so shout out to you. My question for you, though, when you look at this Cleveland Browns draft class from this year, which rookie can have the most immediate impact, and then which rookie do you believe has the most long-term potential here?
Cecil was a good player. He was there. He was a freshman when I was a senior. Yeah. And so Pierre Garçon was a senior that year too, and it was fun seeing Cecil kind of come up. I think when you look at this draft class, obviously not having the first-round pick, you're banking on some of these younger players for the long term. This is a long-term draft for them. I don't think that you're looking at these rookies and saying, okay, we're going to have an immediate impact from. At least you're hoping you don't need that, because you have your roster's kind of set where you're not hoping one of these rookies comes in and completely changes what you're trying to do. But with that said, I do think Michael Hall has that potential. He is still young. I mean, he just literally turned 21, I think last week. So he is still a young player, 6'3", 300 pounds. The way he moves, and it's funny. I'm preparing for the 2025 draft right now. And so I'm watching a lot of Ohio State tape because they might have a chance to set the record next year in terms of draft picks. They are that loaded for next year. But watching, Tyleik Williams up front, and watching Jack Sawyer and Tuiamalu, Michael Hall, number 51, he flashes early and often. And so when he was on the field, he made an impact. It's just a matter of, okay, can he stay on the field? Can he give you more consistency? For a young player, how early will he be able to grasp the playbook and really prove that that coaches can trust him? Because that's what it comes down to with rookies, is trust from the coaching staff. If we're going to put you out there, you're going to do your job, you're going to control your gap, and you're going to do what's expected of you. And that's not always a given with young rookies. So with Mike Hall, I think that's the biggest thing with him. I think the rookie or the player from this draft class that might have the best long-term potential could be Zach Zinter, the guard from Michigan, who, I think on paper, when you look at this team, guard's not a need, right? When you have Petonio going into, I think this is 11th year, and then Wyatt Teller on the other side, you have two guards ready to go to compete. But are both those guys going to stay healthy this year? And then what does the future look like, even after this season, at those two positions? So Zach Zinter, a player who, coming off the broken leg in the Ohio State game, we didn't see him the entire pre-draft process. So no Senior Bowl, no Combine, no Pro Day. That there's a discount sticker on his report. And because of that, the Browns were able to get him in the mid-third round, and he is a guy you project as a starter long-term. You don't need him to plug and play necessarily because of the guys you have on the roster, but long-term, he could be a guy that helps stabilize that front five.
I agree. I think that's a great move, and it's a long play for sure, like you said, but they've got the luxury of having some talent there now, and he can come along a little more slowly, and a couple of years from now, I agree with you. I think this guy could be a Pro Bowler for a number of years to come. When you look at the draft class, the Browns draft class, everybody likes to throw grades on them and compare them to the other teams. We'll keep it to the AFC North. Did we at least keep up with the Joneses in the draft? Because I know Pittsburgh always has a good draft, Baltimore. How did we fare amongst the teams inside the division?
Yeah, and it's tough without that first-round pick, right? I mean, it's when you don't pick in the top, 50, that puts you at an immediate disadvantage, no matter what. Right. When you look at what the other teams did, they were able to get better. And so, but I think with going into this draft with the picks the Browns had, I thought they did a nice job in terms of value, in terms of taking a swing, but taking reasonable swings. Like a guy like Mike Hall, there's a bust factor here because he averaged the last 2 years, he averaged 28 snaps a game. He was a flash player, but when he was on the field, those flashes, they added up to impact plays for the defense. And so, okay, can we bottle that up? You look at that Schwartz defense and, the coach that he is, that Schwartz had a big, some type of substantial impact on making this pick. And so I think that's something that it's a swing. There's a bust factor here, but I do think that there's enough there that you feel optimistic about long-term what Mike Hall can be for this team. And then even what they did on day 3, a Jamari Thrash at receiver who I think fits this roster well because of his toughness. Watching him down the stretch last year over the second half of the year, I was kind of disappointed. I expected a little bit more out of him, and then you do your due diligence and you find out, he had a broken hand. He was playing with a plate and a screw in his hand for the final month and a half of the season. And, okay, you start to go back and look at that tape and say, okay, well, the fact that he was able to do that with that injury says a lot about him as a player. Watson, the linebacker, the production that he brings to this team, I think he's a guy that's going to compete for snaps. And then Miles Harden, the corner from South Dakota, really good player at the FCS level, still young, but the short area quickness is outstanding. And he could get his hands on the football. He was a guy that consistently showed out during East-West Shrine practices. Watching him in person, he was impressive to watch. So I think when you add it all up, the other teams, because they had that first-round pick, you're going to rank those teams probably higher. With what the Browns had going into the draft, I thought they did a nice job of maximizing those selections that they had going in.
Dang.
You mentioned Nathaniel Watson. I liked him. His production at Mississippi State. He's a big linebacker. Is one of the reasons he fell a little bit because he might not have as much value in coverage or the I guess sideline to sideline speed. I think he's a 1 or 2 down linebacker, but I think his production was awesome. Why do you think he slid a little bit being in the SEC with that much production?
Yeah, you can't argue with the production, right? He had over 100 tackles each of the last 2 years. But he was a downhill player for that Mississippi State defense. So, and it showed up in the box score when you look at the tackles for a loss and the way he would attack downhill. He had double-digit sacks this past year. So he was a guy that they wanted getting downhill at the snap, not dropping into coverage necessarily. And so, yeah, I do think that what you're saying is spot on. He is a guy that maybe you're not, even though he is a good athlete, he's not someone that you're necessarily going to trust spot dropping, playing man-to-man against a tight end, covering a running back out of the backfield. That's a different animal at the NFL level. So, he is a guy, he's a little bit older because he's a 6-year player at Mississippi State. So, he's going to be a 24-year-old rookie. But I think there's advantages to that. He's a veteran. He's played a lot of football in the SEC. He's seen a lot. And anytime you lead a conference like the SEC in tackles, that says something about you. And I think it also says something about he has special teams experience. He can right away on kick coverages, he's going to come in. And something that doesn't get talked about enough, but in terms of getting the attention of coaches and earning that trust that we were just talking about, doing that on special teams is a big deal. And that's something that I think Watson will be able to do right away. And as this team looks to, I think it's fair to say they don't maybe value linebacker early in the draft, but this is the type of player that they would target on day 3 and say, hey, he might not ever make a Pro Bowl, but he's a guy that's going to compete for starting reps at some point during his rookie deal, maybe as early as year 1. And so I'm eager to see what Watson can do, at least as a 2-down player, as you mentioned.
Dane, when we started this interview off talking about the Cleveland Browns roster, right? And if you look at certain positions, you talked about Zinter being somebody that's a long-term starter. Right now, you got guys like Wyatt Teller and Joe Bitonio. You look at the slot corner, you got Greg Newsome as a starter, but a guy like Cameron Mitchell, who was a rookie last year. The Browns drafted a guy like Luke Whippler, who's a backup center to poaches, can play some guard. When you assess the drafts from Andrew Berry over the last 2 or 3 years, in your opinion, has he done enough in the draft to kind of limit the impact of a significant roster turnover in the future?
Yeah, and I think the goal of any draft is to find 3 or 4 starters. That's the goal. And obviously the Browns have kind of been hamstrung without having those early picks, those first rounders. And so it's put a little more pressure on those third rounders, fourth rounders, fifth rounders in terms of hitting on those guys. And I think Andrew Berry, I've got a lot of respect for what they try to do in that scouting department, because the Browns have more scouts than just about every other team in the NFL. They are an organization that puts a lot of resources into their front office, both from the analytics standpoint and then also more of the boots on the ground, scouting, guys that are out there on campus, getting the information, making sure that they are getting the right players for their coaches and what this team is trying to build. So I think what Andrew Berry has kind of built, the culture of that front office, I think is something that Browns fans should have a lot of optimism for. Now, are they going to bat 1,000? Of course not. But I think that they have at least shown, in my opinion, enough that they deserve to keep making picks. They deserve to keep building this thing with the way they see fit. And I'm excited to see him with the first round pick again next year. It's been a long time, but you know what? It's Andrew Berry and that staff. Because again, Andrew Berry, he's the GM. That's the buck stops there. But I have a lot of respect for that staff as a whole, because I think they have a lot of smart people in that organization. And like I said, they have put a lot of resources into it in terms of money, in terms of just what it takes to win. So if they're not able to get to the finish line, it won't because of lack of resources in that front office. And I don't think that it's Andrew Berry's fault necessarily if they're not able to get there. I think he has done enough to put this team in position to compete, and that's all you can ask for.
And real quick, you mentioned the Browns have a first-round pick coming up this year. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it as well. I think a lot of us presume it's either going to be an offensive lineman or a wide receiver. But to the point of a wide receiver, you look at a guy like Travis Hunter in college right now at the University of Colorado. Yeah. I'm pretty sure his people around him is looking at the money that wide receivers are getting annually. In your opinion, when do you think this man is going to make up his mind on, okay, what position am I going to play long term as he starts to prepare for his NFL future?
Yeah, it'll be interesting at how much input he takes from scouts and what NFL teams are looking. The scouts that I talk to see him as a corner. Because he is 6 foot, he's 180 pounds, he's going to run in the low 4.4s, a sudden athlete, he's tough, he can tackle. And so, he can, you look at what he does on defense, and that's what teams are looking for. Corners make a lot of money as well. Wide receivers, there's a lot of them. And so if you really distinguish yourself as a corner, I think, you have your best chance long-term going that direction if I'm Travis Hunter. But, we know they want the ball in their hands, right? The chance to be the next, Justin Jefferson or the next Amari Cooper, whoever, that's it, score touchdowns. And, that there's a lot of appeal to that. And so I'm sure there's a part of Travis Hunter that says, hey, I want to be on offense. But I think best long-term for him will be to stay on defense. It'll just be interesting to see how open he is to what the scouts are telling him, what coaches are telling him, and how much he wants to do both. We haven't seen it done very often, but if there's someone that could come into the league and do it, it's this kid. And so Colorado is going to be a must-watch college football program this year with Shedeur Sanders at quarterback. We'll see, what he comes into this draft process with plenty of fanfare, some of it warranted, some of it not. We're going to get tired of talking about Shedeur Sanders by the time next year's draft rolls around. But it's going to make Colorado a fun team to watch this fall.
Hey, Dane, before we let you go, I know it's a ridiculous exercise to talk about the draft when you're this far out. But you did say that you're studying up, you're starting to learn where all the major pieces are. Have you made an assessment yet on what the 2025 draft will look like talent-wise? Will it be above average? Will it be average, below average? What do you think?
Yeah, like any draft, it'll be stronger at certain positions than others. Quarterback always leads the conversation, right? And next year's quarterback class is and I think that was one of the reasons why we saw 6 quarterbacks go as early as we did in this year's draft in the top top 12 picks. One of the reasons we saw so many quarterbacks go early was because their teams forward scout. They look at next year, and next year's quarterback class. Carson Beck from Georgia is a solid player, but if we're talking about him as the best option, I don't know how excited you're getting if you're a team that really needs a quarterback. So that was one of the main reasons we saw so many quarterbacks go early this year. So watching these quarterbacks, Shadur Sanders, Carson Beck, I think the A&M kid, Wegman, he's got a chance to be a player. Quinn Ewers, obviously, from Texas. Texas should be a good team this year. How will he fare in the SEC again? Now this year as a redshirt junior. So the quarterbacks are going to be fascinating to watch, but I think that wide receiver is going to be strong. Running back is going to be really strong. And like I said, Ohio State's going to be must watch. I've done my forward scouting on them for the summer, and I've got 15 Ohio State players with draftable grades, and that would tie the record set by Georgia 3 years ago. So all the hype we're going to hear about Ohio State this year as possible national champion contenders, it's on film, on paper. They have the talent to do it. It just, we'll see how Will Howard does at quarterback. We'll see the consistency of the defense. They had Ohio State had only 4 draft picks this past year, which is the lowest they've had over the last decade. Yeah. And a big reason for that was just guys going back. And so it'll be really fun to watch that Buckeye team this year.
Well, to that point, we'll have Ryan Day on the program tomorrow, and we'll ask him if he's feeling the heat at all in Columbus, because that seat is more than warm, and there are big, big expectations. He's got to beat Michigan, and he's got to make a deep run this year. And I don't even know, for some in Columbus, I'm already hearing anything short of a championship isn't going to be enough, but we'll see. That's Columbus, Ohio. Dane, great stuff as always. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
All right, anytime. Thanks, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Very, very good at the draft. Very good at his
Travis at corner?
Woo! I mean, I think he's right. I've heard a lot of folks say that if he's got it, they think his upside as a corner is better than as a wide receiver. But it will be interesting to see if he comes out and says, I want to do both. He's playing for Deion Sanders. He's the poster child of doing whatever. Not only did he play both ways, right, but he returned kicks and he played baseball. So he's the ultimate Swiss Army knife in sports.
What was the guy's name? Was it Troy Brown?
Troy Brown.
New England did it for a while?
Well, he was a wide receiver, and Bill said, we can use him as a nickelback.
That was out of necessity, though. He didn't come in as a...
No, I know it was out of necessity, but he still did it.
He wasn't drafted as a dual threat, but he ended up playing.
But Bill always Bill thought outside the box. Bill, a funny story about Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel was drafted by the Steelers, and Bill Cowher didn't know what to do with him. And Bill Belichick said, I'll take him. I know exactly what to do with him. You move him around. You play him, and you use him in different ways. Hell, he caught passes on offense for touchdowns.
Creativity is the key. I think Travis Hunter could play both ways in the league. Now, look, he's limited. I don't think he's as explosive as receivers who do it 100% of the time.
Well, no one is as explosive as Prime was.
Yeah, I mean, Charles Wilson did it at Michigan.
Chris Gamble did it.
Chris Gamble did it, but when you get to the league, then everybody is that fast.
Right.
Everybody, but he has, as a corner, he has elite skills as a corner.
I agree.
Like the way he can read, like even in his zone coverage, he sees the game a little bit differently, where he's actually playing off guys, and he just knows where the ball is going.
His instincts are incredible. His closing speed. He's very athletic.
Listen, he's locking boys up.
Dane said something else about, when I asked him about Andrew Berry and just assessing how he's drafted over the last couple of years, and he says, of course, nobody's going to bat 1,000.
Right.
And, of course, you acquire talent 3 different ways, right? Via the draft, via free agency, and via trade. And I just think Andrew Berry has done enough in each of those categories to sustain this roster. And I think that when it seems like with every pick, he's thinking 2 or 3 seasons ahead. I know guys like Luke Whippler, versatile on the offensive line. You get a guy in Zinter who we believe is a steal that if he was healthy, you would have never gotten anyway. You got a nickel in Cam Mitchell. It's just all these different guys that he's accumulated via the draft. And maybe this is some crazy optimism, but at least he's put this team in a position to where when you do have to start making those tough decisions on certain players, Cedric Tillman being another one. Yeah. When you start having to make these tough decisions, that I got some guys that I drafted a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and hopefully they're developed the way that we want them to, so when said time comes, they can take over and become impact players.
You've waited too long if the need is now.
Right.
And I think Andrew Berry has done a really good job at projecting down the line a year or 2 or 3 when it comes to draft talent. Because if you wait to draft a quarterback the year you need a quarterback, good luck.
And that's why I don't knock Atlanta for what they did. I know a lot of people was knocking the Atlanta Falcons for what they did. I don't knock that.
Well,
but I will say
there's a method to that, man.
I will say this, though. Your best 3 receivers are all trades.
Yes.
At some point,
they have not been able to draft wide receivers.
Well, at some point, one of them gonna have to show up and take the mantle and be a playmaker.
I agree with
because, look, Amari Cooper contract, Jerry Jeudy, you gave him the deal. Elijah Moore is up after this year, so you're gonna need 2 or 3 of them dudes to show something.
And to your point, the hole in Andrew Berry's swing is wide receiver. That can't be a hole in your swing. That's like a baseball player who can't hit the fastball down the middle. Like, that's a critical position of need. And you have to be successful in the draft at it. And they have had 0 success at that so far. And they're going to have to figure out that Rubik's Cube. Because I agree, you can do it with the free agency and you can do it through trades. But at the end of the day, you've got to be able to find those nuggets in the draft too. It's all 3 have to be working in tandem. And their drafts at wide receiver, you look at them and you're like,
I don't get it.
What the hell happened?
It's going to be interesting this camp when you talk about Tillman, Bell, a guy like Mike Woods, Thrash.
Yes.
These are 4 guys right here they're going to get an opportunity to earn roster spots and see what they can do. And hopefully it can turn around the fortunes of it. But to your point, when it came to that particular position, he's hit it via the trade. For, as you saying, there's been a hole in this swing. I mean, damn, he's knocking DBs out the park left and right.
Oh, that's his home run.
He's seeing it like a beach ball now, right?
That's great. That's great that he's got another position that kind of juxtaposes how bad he's been at wide receiver. I'd rather my guy be hitting across the board without any mega superstars, but you're hitting everywhere.
Yeah.
But he's getting superstars in the defensive backfield, and he's getting pigs at wide receiver.
And it's funny because they're opposite positions.
I know, you would think that they kind of...
You think you'd be able to scout one, you scout both in a sense because
I agree.
What you're mirroring, or at least in trying to mirror from a defensive standpoint.
Right.
It is what it is. All right, guys, speaking of the Browns, G. Bush has an Ultimate Brown show coming up today at 5 o'clock. As always, every Monday and Friday. G, what's on the docket for tonight's Ultimate Brown show?
Man, listen, I'm going to talk about something that they tell you before you get into the game that every media member should never admit to. And I have a confession to make.
So make sure you all tune in at 5 o'clock.
No, I ain't going to do it now.
To find out what the confession
The confession's coming.
What's it about? Can you give us a hint?
All right,
Tease the audience.
It's about the Browns.
All right, Usher.
Well, I mean, we need a little bit more than that.
You got a confession.
My confession is that none of us know what we're talking about, including me.
Well, that's a fact. We all project. We
give our opinion. Nothing we say is really factual.
No clue at all.
If any of us knew, we'd be in Andrew Berry's office right now.
Me and Andrew is the same age.
Is that true?
Yeah, he's out here doing things. I'm out here giving my opinion.
That's crazy.
He making major moves.
That's crazy. Shout out to DeQuell Jackson. He obviously knew what he was talking about.
Is he still with the Browns, DeQuell? Did they re-sign him?
Yeah, he got a full-time contract this year.
So what's his job, his title?
He's a scout.
Well, I didn't know what Dane said, that the Browns invest more in scouts than any other team in the NFL.
Their scouting department is massive.
I knew it was big.
Massive.
In relation to other NFL teams, I didn't know it was the biggest.
I didn't know that either. I just
interesting.
know when they send out the list of scouts.
Oh, no.
It's like 4 pages on the doc, like next page, next page, next page. Speaking of scouts, we're going to pivot to the Cavs here, and their top scout right now might be Donovan Mitchell. A report came out over the weekend from Marc Stein, who is as connected as anybody.
Mark's good.
And Steve, you can take tag board full, and Anthony gets the tag board back up ready. That said, Donovan Mitchell doesn't want the Cavs to trade Jarrett Allen because he doesn't want to lose him as a teammate. They're good friends off the court. They've made that very clear in numerous press conferences this season. And Mitchell, who is yet to sign an extension, wants to keep Jarrett Allen around. Jay, I want to start with you. We'll make our way down. Does a guy that has not signed an extension yet have enough power to tell the organization who they should and should not trade prior to signing said extension, or does it not matter whatsoever in terms of how the Cavs are looking to build their roster moving forward?
Yeah, no, I don't think you give that power to a guy that hasn't given you a commitment. That's like letting your girlfriend pick out the house you're going to live in when you're married. Like,
wow, that is kind of, dang, I see why that didn't work. Go ahead.
It is. I mean,
that is.
When you're renting, you don't go shopping for carpet.
Yeah, you're right.
And when he wants to go all in, I'll give him say. I'm not going to let him have complete roster construction say. I'm going to let him weigh in on the coach. I'm going to let him weigh in on Jarrett Allen. I'm going to let him weigh in on Darius Garland. But I'm not going to let him sit back and say, I want this coach, Allen stays, Garland goes, give me this player. There's really one guy that you would give that power to. And we lived it in Cleveland on 2 different occasions. His name's LeBron James. Jimmy Donovan made a great point before he left. He said, why are we giving Donovan Mitchell the keys to the castle? Where's his trophies?
Trophies.
What's he won? Like, so I understand that there has to be deals made before you can maybe get him to make his commitment. As management, you have to figure out what are deal breakers and what are things that we have some flexibility on. I would hope that that Donovan Mitchell wouldn't say to the Cavs, you keep Jarrett Allen or I'm leaving. I mean, I just don't see him being that way. I don't.
Why would you die on that hill?
No kidding.
That ain't.
Like, there are hills to die on, that ain't it.
And then I would then question, do you really want to win? I
right.
mean, like,
you want to be friends and you want to have your friend room with you, or do you want to win?
Like, you're supposed to get over that in college. Like,
right.
Like that. Like,
it's just like Bo Naylor and Josh Naylor. Like, I know that as the Guardians are giving some consideration for what they're going to do with Josh or Bo, they have to consider Josh. But at some point, you got to do what's best for the 25, not 1 or 2.
I'd think about it. I put it to you like this. Now, listen, Marc Stein said what? That he thinks he's going to sign the contract, right?
Yes.
He did say he thinks he's going to resign.
Okay, if they got some sort of assurances and they think he's going to sign the contract, here's what I would say. If we're going to keep Jarrett Allen, I'm going to let you know something right now. You're going to take ownership of that. You're gonna hold that. And just because we keep him, don't mean we starting him. Jarrett Allen will be coming off the bench because we can't play him and Evan Mobley together. I'm gonna let you know that right now.
Yeah.
So your boy can stay in town. Y'all can go have Chipotle or order pizzas together. That's great. But he's gonna be coming off this bench because I need to get like that's not gonna happen, bro. But you notice he didn't say Darius Garland though. See, the people they're wishing to be funny. You notice there wasn't no Darius Garland.
Well, I mean, when it comes to Jarrett Allen, I mean, being friends and having that chemistry is cool, right? Chemistry is a part of what makes teams successful.
You'd rather players have it than not.
But with that being said, I hope that Donovan Mitchell's priority in keeping Jarrett Allen is because he was the second most productive Cleveland Cavalier throughout the entire regular season on the roster last year. Let it be because he fits what you're trying to do long term and because he's a good player, not because y'all got a personal relationship.
Right.
We all got personal relationships. If our career took us different paths, those personal relationships still will remain healthy. I think Jarrett Allen is a damn good player. You know, when Jason wrote that phenomenal article and it talked about players inside the organization, or people, should I say, inside the organization, feeling some type of way that he didn't attempt to at least try to play against Boston. I remember I came out here and said, well, you know what, if people feel that way, then you need to move on. And I guess the point I'm making is Donovan Mitchell feelings can't be the only feelings that matter here because there's other people within the organization.
It's gotta be the team.
There's other people that's on this team, right?
Do we know, is Jarrett Allen still day-to-day? Is he going to play the opener in October?
Damn, Jay. Come on, Jay.
Where are we on that?
Dang, bro. Dang, it's summertime, man.
Where are we on that? Are the ribs healed?
That's crazy. That was crazy. By the way, let me spin it this way. What if in an alternate universe, it was not even a Darius Garland thing? What if he's saying, listen, what if the Cavs went to him and said, look, we got Jarrett Allen, we could probably keep him or we move him, but we can also move Evan Mobley.
They're not
And if we
doing
move
that.
and we move Evan Mobley, we can get a whole lot more for
Listen,
Evan Mobley.
it would be real telling to me. You'd have to give him truth serum. He would never answer that question. But I would really know, feet to fire, which of the two does Donovan most want to keep around?
He played much better with Allen last year than he did.
Facts.
All the numbers backed up. Their best pairings were Donovan and
Which is
Allen.
why I was saying Evan is expendable.
And you can get, and bar none, McNuggets can't lie to me. He understands this. Evan Mobley brings you back the biggest package, does it not?
Oh, without question.
That is a fact, correct.
Without question.
You get a whole nother tier of player. That little green bar on Madden is all the way up to the right because now you can sell them upside. And guess what? He looking at the stats. He might, like Evan Mobley might not even be Jarrett Allen. Because last year, obviously, Allen was better than Mobley last year.
Yes. In my mind, he was.
All right, so maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid now. I got the same type of memory that I have of Deshaun Watson. The last time Deshaun Watson left me with a football memory, it was a damn good one. So I'm holding on to that when the season started. The last time Evan Mobley left me, it was with damn good memories of, okay, this is what I believe Evan Mobley can be.
Well,
and
there
I
was
think
no
with the right
Porzingis on the floor, though.
that's cool. But I think with the right coach and the right development, I still think he can reach his potential. I'm not down with trading Evan Mobley at all. But at the same time, I'm not down with keeping this core four together. And so, again, I know we're talking about Jarrett Allen, right? You know who I'm moving.
Bye-bye, Darius.
You know who I'm moving.
Yeah.
Like Mike is, he laid it out very well. He's kind of made his mind up. He can't move Darius Garland unless he get an all-star in return. To me, I want like a Cam Johnson type player, maybe some other role players, some guys like that, some draft picks back. But if I had to pick between the two, I'm moving Darius Garland.
I can't get draft picks back. I need players now.
That's the tough. Thank you. That's the tough spot the Cleveland Cavaliers are in. You guys do know that you're not in the mode of just wait and see and development.
No,
like,
window's open and it's closing.
All that core four stuff that was cool and cute 3 years ago when you was just trying to get over LeBron and Kyrie leaving. Oh, that ship has sailed.
Sure.
We old now. Like, we understand that Santa Claus is not real, and you got an opportunity with your window open today. Now, I got to look at it and say, if I'm going to trade these dudes, I need to get a bona fide ball player. I need ball players back.
Yeah.
And it's time for Kobe Altman to fleece somebody. Look, I'm sorry. Look, the Guardians fleece people all the time. Andrew Barry makes his whole life off fleecing people. When is your fleecing coming? I'm looking for.
You saying Kobe
we
ain't
got
got
fleeced.
Kobe ain't
we
got.
got fleeced.
Now we need to fleece somebody.
It's funny that we're talking about this. So I did an interview for the Ultimate 216 show with Barbara Turner, assistant coach of the Atlanta Dream.
Yep.
And she was talking about, being a huge Cavs fan, and in her opinion, the Cavs should not break up the core four because she believes in 2 years they have not been given the opportunity to really grow. And we used the phrase like water in a garden. You have to continue to water your garden and let it flourish. If you look at the game 5 is tonight, and you look at the Boston Celtics, right?
It ends tonight.
And you look at the core of that team, they're just not reaching that pinnacle 6 years until this core being together.
I don't know about that.
So what I'm saying is, or what she was saying is basically, the proof is not really in the pudding yet, of the potential of this core four yet. Who's to say? But
she talked you into keeping Darius.
No, I was just giving you her opinion.
Shout out to her.
G. Bush, a coach is always going to say that. You know why?
They want their job.
They want their
job
job
security.
too. Yeah, not
job
saying
security.
she's wrong or right, but a coach is always
You know
going to
what,
preach
though,
patience.
Mike? That's a good point. I mean, they have a dog in the fight, but I agree with what she's saying. And I said this last week on the show about how Boston is now being rewarded for, and I know that their core pieces were here, and they added some really good pieces.
I mean, they're two starting
and Kristaps, but
they got two unicorn. They got They got the most valuable pieces. Wings that can shoot, that can switch, that
guards
can do
that can play
everything.
2 ways.
Yeah.
And they got 2 of them.
They got
And that's the
two-way
biggest
guards.
difference.
It is the
to
biggest
G's point,
difference.
that is the biggest difference.
It is.
So when you got 2 of them, they realize, all right, well, Marcus Smart, he's a defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
You got to go. They got rid of Robert Williams, right? What's the other?
Yeah, they traded Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams for Drew Holiday.
And then
it worked out.
So they figured it out. Now my thing is, in the league, that's not how it works. You don't get an opportunity to figure it out. You better be tinkering because teams come out of nowhere, right?
See, we should have seen some growth last year.
Right.
That's my thing. We should have seen him messing around with different. The only success we had with I think alignment was when his hand was forced with injuries.
And he still.
That's when it was like, oh, okay, this seems to work.
He should have been playing way more people. Like people always talk about you. I always go to the Imani Bates card, right? Here's what you should have been doing. You should be playing everybody and figuring out what you got, because I need to find out. The Nuggets got good because Porter got good. They were like, oh, we'll take them late in the draft. They had back issues. Guess what? They knew they had Murray. They knew they had Joker. But guess what? They got Porter and they snuck up on it. It happens all the time. You got to find somebody. Like you look at the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves took a step. You know why? Because Ant turned into the unicorn.
He did.
So when you telling me about my unicorn, and I only see My Little Pony, that's not the same difference, right? Like you saw that.
It's called a unicorn for a reason.
And then they got Cat. So Karl Anthony Towns, one of the best big men shooters, and the fact that he was the number 1 overall pick, you got to have layered multiple pieces. And I would tell Donovan Mitchell, listen, if you was on the playground and you had to pick roll out with a 5, you taking his 5? He's not doing that. He understands not.
I just think we're trying to microwave something that belongs in the oven sometimes, right? Like especially like when it comes to things like Evan Mobley and stuff like that.
You mean rush it along?
Like rush it along. Like this is a slow cook type of process. I mean, when we remove our emotions from the situation, especially looking at, last year, the year before that, on paper, yes, they got better. Did they meet the fans' expectations or our personal expectations? Hell no, they didn't. But when Kobe Altman put this core together, he really, really believes that this core can go win the championship. You got 3 people who's made the All-Star team, another potential perennial All-Star in Evan Mobley on this roster. The problem is do the pieces fit? And Kobe Altman he said it from jump. I'm not too sure if I want to break this thing up. And I've been trying to figure out since the season ended, does Kobe have a type of faith that we can't see, or is he just insane? And I don't know which is which.
I listen, I'm trying to question, should I be listening to Kobe Altman? Like, you should have been on that same package with JB as far as I'm concerned. You was on that same table, because guess what? You got him the ingredients. Let's just look at it. Now, look, if I'm JB, I'm sitting over here and I'm like, hold on, you gave me Max Strus to start at 3.
Yeah.
And I'm playing in a conference with Jason Tatum and guys like that.
No, he gave you Max Strus. He didn't tell you to play him at the 3. But you made that choice.
But here's the thing.
You made that choice. Because as a coach, you should have been watching him in Miami, seeing that he was a 2 guard.
The fact that you signed that
He said, Kobe, I need a shooter. He said, cool, I'm going to give you one. Kobe didn't go down there and say you got to play him at the 3.
He gave you George Niang, who's 6'5", and his name is Minivan.
It's his birthday. Happy birthday, George.
Happy birthday. Let that sink in. Let's keep it a buck. Like, come on. You started 6'1", 6'1", 6'3", and then was like, yeah, we ready to go. And you're like, no, that ain't it. Like you got the Cavs, and here's all I will say. If the Cavs and everybody reach their full potential, right? Everybody get to wherever they're gonna be in Shangri-La. Everything is great. They're still not winning the championship. They don't have enough. They just don't. If Darius Garland is an all-star like he was,
I agree with that.
I think they don't.
They're still missing pieces.
Still ain't got it.
They definitely missing pieces, but I think part of the not enough is experience. They don't have enough experience. They don't have enough length. They don't have enough athleticism.
I know, but even when they're experienced, they're still not going to have enough length.
So,
right. You ain't going to grow 5 inches.
And where's the wing that we need?
Who's guarding Jason Tatum?
There's a piece missing. And the way you get the missing piece is to give up something. And you give up something that you have a surplus of. And when I look at Allen and Mobley, I think we have a surplus of something there. And so to get the player you need, you're going to have to give up something that you have an abundance of. And maybe it is Darius and not Jarrett or Evan. But I think to run it back here with the same core four and hope that the results are going to be different, you're defining insanity.
And not only is this going to happen, I'm going to just tell you this. I'm old enough to remember when LeBron James said he wasn't leaving the second time.
Yeah, I am too.
Don't act like y'all don't remember that. And on top of that, when it get tough, when these dudes start looking around and that guy didn't pan out like you thought he was, and then that draft pick didn't plan out, and you're hamstrung for draft picks, you don't control them, the cap situation is in purgatory, all of a sudden, I done seen too many people go and say, yeah, I know I just signed that contract,
Mike,
Jay.
I got a question for you.
I just signed that contract, Jay, but I got to go. I can't be doing this.
Right.
I got a question for you, brother, before we move on. Is there any scenario, is there any situation to where you can see a third ball handler on this team that will allow you to keep Darius and Spider on the court together to create more spacing situations?
Yeah. I mean, like a big play creating wing.
But if it's not a wing, though, like, could it be another guard?
Why would you wouldn't want it to be another
Because,
guard?
I'm just throwing out hypotheticals, right? Because G keeps saying, well, Max Strus was 6'3" playing small forward. He had no business being 6'3" playing small forward. But if you just got to roll with somebody 6'3", if it was another guard that can actually be a facilitator, would that work as well?
It'd be a...
You get destroyed on the defensive end.
It depends on the player, but there's a scenario where the Cavs decide to keep Darius and Donovan. And part of the issue this year was Ty Jerome, who, Earl, I know you loved coming into the season, who has size at the guard position and could defend a little bit, was just not available. And they had no size at the guard position whatsoever. So you find a bigger secondary guard who could be an off-ball or a secondary.
But that's not the ideal situation. The
It's not
ideal
ideal.
situation
is get a
wing.
Yeah, is there a scenario? Yeah, I guess there's a scenario where that could be an alternative solution. It's not option A, which is finding a playmaking wing, but playmaking wings are the hardest commodity in basketball to find. It is very easy to say, hey, we need a playmaking wing. It is not very easy.
What's LeBron going to do?
Jason Lloyd's here tomorrow. Text him. I don't know. That's not my guy.
But
No, I know, but you talk.
Well, they're about to hire J.J. Redick, though. So if
I know
they
they
hire
are.
J.J., he ain't going nowhere. That was his choice.
Yeah.
So. Speaking of head coaching hires, by the way, we got one last
That
break
could be
to
an
take.
epic fail, too, by the way.
It could be great. It could be a fail.
I agree.
Between who the hell knows.
It is a high risk, high
Who knows?
reward, but
We appreciate everyone for tuning in, by the way. A reminder, we have no full show Wednesday for Juneteenth. We will have some content airing throughout the day, but there will be no full UCSS show on Wednesday. We will have something coming up at 11 o'clock, but no full show. If you're in the chat, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It costs you $0.00 and helps us out. So J.J. Redick is most likely headed to L.A. The Cavs, despite interviewing multiple coaches in person last week, have yet to make a hire. Is this just an extreme case of due diligence? Is this indecisiveness on the front office of who the right man to hire is? How do you guys view this Cavs coaching search, which is now spread out significantly longer than it feels like the timeline should have been, considering when they've brought in interview candidates to Cleveland?
well, they
for
told us it
face-to-face
was going to be
interviews.
like this.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell us it would be this long after the face-to-face interviews started.
No, but when asked for a timeline, Kobe said, there isn't one.
Fair enough.
We'll get them when we get them. Let me ask you this, Mike. Is there a different approach if Donovan doesn't re-sign? I think there is.
In terms of who they hire?
Yeah.
I do too.
I mean, I assume there would be. However, I'm not a fan of hiring a coach for a specific player.
No, and I'm not either, by the way. I'm just asking you, is there a different process? Is there a different candidate that is the perfect fit if Donovan is here as opposed to not being here?
No, because your team's going to look way different if Donovan's not here. I think you have to go in figuring out which candidate looks like and how their offense fits with Donovan, with Darius. Kobe keeps telling us the core four is coming back.
Yeah.
So I think you have to go into the hiring process assuming that at least at the time of the hire, you're hiring a coach to fit the core four. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think here's I've been saying this since Jump Street. There's a small percentage chance of the LeBron factor. So behind the scenes, you have to do all due diligence. You have to go through every single scenario. It's almost like having like alternate universes where, okay, there's a universe where LeBron comes and then Donovan doesn't. There's a universe where none of them comes. There's a universe where Darius Garland and Evan Mobley are on the team, but Jarrett Allen might not be on the team. So there's all these different scenarios that you got to run through to do your due diligence to make sure, okay, we want to optimize our ability to have the best team possible. And so when you're doing that, they're obviously interviewing people, and then you got to go to Donovan Mitchell, and this is just the way it happens. It's nonsense to think that Donovan does not have a huge part in who the coach is. It'd be dumb for you not to bring him in on the situation, because at the end of the day, you want it to work. Mind you, they can't have the John Beeline thing or the David Blatt thing. Let's keep it real. They ain't really hit on no coaches.
No.
Let's talk about the misses on that. You did get.
Although I would take Ty Lue or Mike Brown back.
Yes, but now they hired Mike Brown twice and fired him.
Yeah.
So
once was like 9 games or something.
So they don't have a really good track record with coaches. That's why some people that wanted JB to stay was like, yo, who are you gonna get? It's not like we got coaches growing out of trees. So for me, I think they're being overly cautious and overly extra when they're doing their due diligence. And I'm telling you like this. Kobe Altman has less of a say than he did prior to this. Because every time I had to work in management, when you got to fire people, or when you keep Garrett, you fired 2 more people.
That's a reflection on you.
You hired them.
Yeah.
So what's going on? Do we need to have somebody else in these interviews with you?
Yeah.
To ask the correct questions? Because it happens all the time. That attrition rate is on your scorecard, buddy.
I think it's a little bit of both.
True.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's extreme due diligence, and then I think it's a little bit of indecisiveness. We've heard reports that not everybody was on board with firing J.B. Bickerstaff. We've heard people say that Kobe Altman really didn't want to fire J.B. Bickerstaff because of the fact is, okay, is there any clear-cut candidate out here that you can replace him with that's better? That's to be determined. We don't know that. We don't know that. But then Kobe also said that this Cleveland Cavaliers organization and roster is in a much different space than it was 5 years ago when they went on their last coaching search. A lot has changed, right? And he said that there would be specific things that specific questions and a specific blueprint laid out for this particular coaching search. And so when you look at all of that, I think there's a part of them, they're doing their due diligence, but then they're very indecisive because part of the organization probably are like, okay, I can't believe we even here anyway.
And coaches, and here's the thing about the NBA. These coaches is being coach of the year 1 year and get fired the next.
Yeah, it happens.
If I'm Kenny Atkinson and I'm some of these other people where I'm with stable organizations where I'm with Steve Kerr or I'm with the Miami Heat or I'm with the Spurs, they telling you better go in an interview and ask them. You know who the owner is? He's kind of volatile. If you don't have the year and you take a step back, can you promise me that you're going to make it past this year?
Right.
And one other thing with the delay, and whether or not this was planned or not, the later you get into the process, the harder and harder it is to assemble an assistant coaching staff. These guys get re-upped, they move. If you have your top choice of assistants, there's already been
especially because we didn't have a lot of turnover this season.
That's what I'm saying.
In fact, I think we had historically low turnover, didn't we?
I don't know if it's historic.
I'm
not sure.
Because I thought Monty Williams might have a chance to be gone, but they brought him back.
No, I mean, they guaranteed his contract. He's got the most money, or was the most money ever for a coach. They're not paying 3 coaches.
Yeah,
but just in general, assistant coaches have been on the move. A lot of these new coaches, Charles Lee, when the Celtics Mavs series ends, he'll start assembling his staff. It's late in the process to start putting together a staff, and that's why I'm curious at this point.
I agree with that.
If you think it's more indecisiveness, or if it's, once again, just part of the initial plan, which was to wait till Donovan Mitchell makes a decision. And back to the Jarrett Allen topic before, it's putting a lot of power in a guy who is clearly a supremely talented player, but has yet
Hopefully,
to win at the highest
Mike,
level.
By the time we leave here today, we got breaking news that the Cleveland Cavaliers has hired James Borrego to be the next head coach of the
I don't think
Cavaliers.
they'll announce it until the finals are over, right?
If you want to make a splash before the finals, who
No,
knows?
the league frowns on that. The league does not like anybody making moves.
LeBron does everything the day of the finals.
LeBron's LeBron. LeBron is LeBron. But
Dan Hurley was the first game of the finals.
Dan Hurley has nothing to do with the NBA.
He's not. He ain't signed no deals.
It was the Lakers.
Dan Hurley has it was Dan Hurley's decision, and Dan Hurley has nothing to do with the NBA. The NBA and Major League Baseball is very much the same. Football is too. They do not like internal storylines stealing the shine of their final series.
I agree with you in premise. I'm just saying that doesn't mean I can't.
Does it to me?
I'll be stunned if the Cavs announce the coach before the finals. I'll be stunned.
If they
Stunned.
They have to me, they got a lot of work to get to, because you don't got the coach yet. We talking about they have very little cap space. So what you're planning on doing is basically trades. Like you're trying to move and
right.
You still got to sign Donovan Mitchell,
Or you're running everything back.
And I don't hope. Hey, listen. I hope you're not dragging your feet on purpose. Please don't do this to us, because I don't want to have to do it. You are not permitted to run back no core four without great upheaval. No. Don't think, well, we got rid of the coach, we gonna run. No. That ain't it.
Don't run the four corner offense.
No.
Try to bring the core four back.
I'm like, are you slow playing us? Tell me you slow playing us. I feel like you slow playing us a little bit.
G. Bush, we got a super chat related to this topic, so I want to add it in. It's our only super chat. Comes from Dontavius Winston, who says, trade Garland for an actual wing and give Craig Porter Jr. the keys. I think he's really underrated. Could be a Drew Holiday type player.
I like his game.
I would do that.
I like his game.
Would you do that, Mike?
Once again, if you could get a legit all-star caliber wing for Darius Garland, yes, I would trade him.
I would do that.
I'm not trading Garland for 2-3 role guys, but for an all-star, yeah.
I'm not either. But I would do that trade.
I like that.
Craig Porter Jr. could play.
I love Craig Porter Jr.
Can he ever shoot? We'll find out.
Something
But
he can
play.
improve upon.
Yeah, he's older than you think, though.
I know he is. That's the only bad thing.
And it's hard for – not hard. Well, it is hard. That's not the – it is a lot harder to project how much better he can actually get, considering he is 24 years old and turns 25 middle of next season.
Hey, you know who is real young?
Amani Bates.
Thank you. Summer League is coming. Run that promo.
Is he going to be the MVP?
Yes. Back-to-back champions. Here's the thing. Imani Bates, listen, he's going to turn, this year he's going to turn the common joke into seriousness. After you watch this Summer League, you'll see a couple of things. You'll see an increased awareness on defense. You'll see an improved shot selection, and you'll see
Will he share the basketball?
You'll see more leadership.
Will he share?
Oh yeah, listen. Listen. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers gave him that Kevin Porter Jr. red shirt after the soup incident, like whatever's going on. They gave him the red shirt. He caught the red shirt. It's cool. I think you see an improved game, and Imani Bates. You're gonna see a lot of growth in the Summer League.
Man, I would love that, but I'm not counting on any of that.
We'll see, man.
Mike, are you?
I mean, it'd be great.
Well, I know it would be great, but are you counting on it?
In the Summer League, yeah, he could dominate the Summer League.
No. Him being a viable part for the Cavaliers next year.
His goal is to be a rotation player. That's his goal.
He'll get a shot. Put it this way. He will get every opportunity to show. The Cavs desperately needed size on the wing and shooting from the wing this year. Amani Bates is 6'8", 6'9", and can shoot.
But
and
God,
didn't
he's
get a
so
sniff,
thin,
so-
man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He didn't get a sniff.
He got an
this year.
opportunity. Hey, it's a weight room and it's a basket. Work on it. You're going to have every opportunity to get it. If you listen to Imani Bates, this year you turn the conversation from being, it's Imani Bates to, that's Imani Bates.
Imani believes in Imani. He sat right here and he told us in the interview, as long as he keep the main thing, then he believed that he could be a star one day. He believed he can have a significant impact on an NBA team. And confidence is one thing that you got to have in yourself before you can do anything
I firmly
at a
believe
high
that.
rate. So, I mean,
You got to believe
there's feel good stories. There are stories of players that come out of nowhere all the time. Why not? I mean, he a Midwest kid. He got a chip on his shoulder. He seemed to be putting in the work. And if you put in the work, have a little bit of luck, the stars might align. You never know.
It would be a nice surprise bonus.
That's what the Cavs need. They needed one of those guys to turn into a star. Isaac Okoro, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley. Like the teams that are rocking and rolling, they find somebody like, I didn't even know Desmond Bain. Where did he come from? Who? Who's that? Right?
Be nice. What are we going to do for overtime, Mike?
Desmond Bain, we're going to preview Game 5 tonight. Will Celtics, Mavs, does it end tonight, or can Luka Doncic and company keep it going?
That was a gentleman's sweep. I thought about you.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is.
Boston said, y'all can have this one because we want to celebrate.
Did you hear Kyrie?
At the Garden.
Did you hear Kyrie saying he never really bought into the Celtics trade or Celtics, whatever he said? He never really bought into the whole of being a part of Celtics pride and thing like that.
Man,
it showed.
But he said he did when he went.
Yeah.
You know, he said a lot of things.
Revisionist history.
See you in overtime. Peace.
Deuce.